Waves lap gently, the skies are dimming. A Russian flagged cargo vessel laden with crates and containers marked military cargo drifts slowly toward an Iranian port route. Then, out of the quiet, a small, low, flying drone cuts across the water, unseen until it strikes a critical point on the ship. A sudden flare, fire, thick smoke, and then the hull groans. The ship lists. Within hours it's half submerged, its precious cargo destined for war is lost to the deep. Hello everyone, welcome back to the StrikePointMedia channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today, we'll dive deep into one of the most audacious and consequential events in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine's reported sinking of a Russian ship carrying $500 million worth of Iranian Shahed drones. We'll break down what intelligence shows, how it was done, the capabilities involved, risks, the strategic implications, like a full review, but of a sea strike rather than a car. Let's get into it. The exterior appearance of that ship, as seen in satellite images and released intelligence, is crucial to understanding what happened. The vessel in question has been identified as Port Olia 4, a general cargo ship anchored near the port of Olia in Russia's Astrakhan region. The photos show a typical mid-sized freighter, a hull painted in somber gray or rust tones, a superstructure toward the rear, cranes and booms, cargo hatches running along the deck, and containers or crates stacked amidships. The superstructure and bridge show scorch marks and damage, suggesting the blast came upward against the superstructure. The vessel is approximately 400 feet long, displacement in the range of thousands of tons, and its sides appear pinched in or buckled where the explosion struck. The images released by UK intelligence show the ship partially submerged, its port side lower, implying flooding through side breaches. There is also char and fire damage on the deck and superstructure, consistent with an internal explosion or strike. So, externally, it looked like a badly wounded ship, clearly mortally damaged, but let's imagine, for the sake of narrative, that we could see inside. Even though no close interior photos have been publicly released, we can reconstruct likely interior conditions from the type of vessel and the reported cargo. Inside, the ship would have a series of cargo holds, bulk compartments, and sections separated by bulkheads, with structural supports, floors, and access corridors. The crates of drone parts and ammunition would have been stored in the hold compartments, possibly packed tightly, likely in containers or crates, stacked up toward the center for balance. The wiring, ventilation ducts, piping, and structural supports would run through the decks, connecting engine rooms, crew quarters, control rooms, maybe an internal corridor linking machinery spaces to cargo areas. If an explosive struck near the cargo hold, the blast wave would shatter crates, scatter parts, rip open container walls, tear decking and hatches, and breach the sides of holds. The force would blow debris upward into the superstructure, sending shock through the hull. Once the hull is breached, water gushes in through the holes, flooding lower holds, pushing internal bulkheads inward, destabilizing internal compartments. The pressure differential would cause progressive collapse of internal partitions, tearing wiring, pipes, ventilation lines, and rupturing suspended ceilings or flooring. The cargo, in many cases, might act as shrapnel, further damaging internal walls. Smoke and fire would race through corridors, interfering with damage control efforts or compartment sealing. Any crew trying to respond would find themselves battling fire, flooding, structural collapse, toxic fumes, and potentially secondary explosions if munitions or drone fuel ignited. The destruction inside would be chaotic and rapid, ensuring the vessel could not be stabilized. Now, performance. How was this strike executed? What were the tools, timing, precision, range, and the risks? This is where things get truly intriguing. First, Ukraine reportedly used a long-range drone strike or sea drone intervention to hit the ship in port. According to multiple sources, the ship was targeted via a coordinated operation, striking deep inside Russian territory, some 640 kilometers or more from Ukraine's border. Such range implies that Ukraine must have used drones or missiles capable of long-distance reach, possibly supported by intelligence, reconnaissance, electronic warfare, and precision targeting. The element of surprise is paramount here. Russian air defense and naval defenses in their own territorial waters would normally guard such high-altitude cargo routes. To overcome that, Ukraine likely utilized stealth flight paths, low-altitude transit, or routes circumventing detection zones, along with jamming or suppression of Russian radar/air defenses. The timing had to be precise. The cargo vessel was likely known ahead of time as a logistics route carrying Iranian drone parts to Russia. Ukraine's intelligence would have tracked its manifest, schedule, and location. The chosen moment would ideally be when the vessel was at anchor or slower, less maneuverable, and perhaps during low visibility or window of reduced vigilance night or dusk. The strike's success, breaching the side, causing flooding, suggests a weapon with sufficient penetration and explosive yield. Some reports indicate drones or missiles capable of penetrating deck and hull plating, possibly warheads designed for anti-ship roles. Another performance component, maintaining stealth, avoiding detection, evading countermeasures, and coordinating the strike without alerting the enemy. This means synchronized intelligence, command and control, and possibly diversionary measures elsewhere to mask the real attack. The operation likely involved multiple drones or weapons to saturate defenses or ensure redundancy if one fails. Importantly, Ukraine has already demonstrated the capability to strike Russian ships using naval drones. In 2024, Ukrainian sea drones Magura V-5 were used to sink the Russian corvette Ivanovets and later the landing ship Tsezar Kunikov. In those cases, unmanned surface vehicles carrying explosives approached the target hull and detonated, breaching hulls and causing rapid sinking. Those operations show Ukraine's capacity for naval drone strike performance, which bolsters plausibility for this attack on a logistics ship in port. The lessons learned in those earlier operations, stealth, synchronization, fail-safe design, all likely fed into this more ambitious strike. Let's turn to safety features, or rather, risk mitigation and the countermeasures involved in such a high-stakes mission. In this scenario, safety doesn't mean life jackets or fire extinguishers, but rather shielding friendly assets, protecting pilots/operators, ensuring reliability, and minimizing collateral damage. Ukraine would have had to build in redundancy, multiple drones or missiles so that even if one is intercepted or fails, others succeed. They would employ countermeasures against Russian air defenses, stealth routes, electronic warfare jamming of radars, decoys, chaff, or timing strikes when defenses are least vigilant. The crew operating from a safe base, likely far from the action, with encrypted communications, secure links, and possibly autonomous guidance to reduce operator exposure risk. Minimizing collateral damage is another safety consideration. In port settings, there may be civilian infrastructure, other ships, fuel storage, etc. The strike needed to be precise so that only the target vessel would be impacted. Intelligence planners would map surroundings, avoid overflow blast radius, and confirm the impact point would breach the hull rather than catastrophically destroy a broader area. Damage control mitigation for the target, Obviously, the Russians would try to limit flooding, seal bulkheads, pump out water, salvage efforts, but by design, the weapon's goal is to overcome those defenses, breach multiple compartments or critical ones, so that recovery is extremely difficult. The surprise factor and speed make effective countermeasures challenging. Now, what are the unique selling points? Why is this strike remarkable, and what gives it strategic weight? First, this is one of the boldest logistics interdiction attacks, striking a ship carrying $500 million worth of Iranian drone parts deep in Russian waters. That's far beyond border skirmishes or frontline exchanges. It targets the very supply arteries of Russia's drone campaign. By crippling supply lines, Ukraine can disrupt Russia's ability to launch sustained drone attacks. Second, the psychological and deterrent value is immense. Russia must now worry not only about defending its skies and territory, but protecting sea routes. The illusion of safe logistics is shattered. It signals nowhere is off limits. Third, it forces Russia to divert resources to naval and logistics defense, thereby stretching their defense apparatus. They must allocate anti-drone naval patrols, air defenses over coastal infrastructure, improved surveillance, and more. That's a strategic cost. Fourth, it projects Ukraine's technological and operational maturity. Conducting such long-range precision strikes implies advanced drone design, intelligence gathering, command and control sophistication, integrated electronic warfare, and bold operational planning. It's a demonstration that Ukraine is no longer reactive. Now it can reach deep into the enemy's supply chain. Fifth, this strike adds to a growing campaign against Russia's drone logistics. Ukraine has already targeted drone factories, storage, and transportation nodes. This is another link severed, and by doing so, Ukraine may force Russia to slow drone attacks or reroute supply routes in less efficient ways, raising cost and difficulty. Sixth, the propaganda and morale boost, showing to the Ukrainian public, to allies, and to adversaries that Ukraine remains capable, daring, and lethal, even within Russia's claimed safe zones. Now, let's talk about price. We often talk about drones, missiles, logistics costs. Here, the price is multi-fold: monetary, strategic, risk, and backlash. Monetary. The claim is that the cargo held $500 million worth of Iranian drone parts. Destroying that is a direct economic hit on Russia and Iran's supply chain. The cost to Ukraine is likely relatively small. Each drone or missile may cost a fraction of that, so the return on investment is enormous. Strategic price. The operation is high risk. If intercepted or if it fails, it becomes propaganda for Russia. It risks exposure of methods, drone designs, or vulnerabilities. The operators risk loss of expensive drones, maybe detection of forwarding bases, or escalation. But apparently Ukraine judged the benefits worth the risk. Diplomatic cost. Iran and Russia may protest, launch retaliatory attacks, or escalate drone deliveries via harder routes. There might be international condemnation over attacking ships in a port. Ukraine must manage diplomatic fallout, especially with nations that see sea routes as sacrosanct. Operational cost. The time, planning, intelligence, reconnaissance, training, synchronization, all incur costs, manpower, and wear on the system. One failed mission can degrade morale or deplete reserves, yet the payoff seems to justify the price. The sinking of the ship isn't just a one-off victory. It ripples through the supply chain, imposes uncertainty, forces reallocations, and raises the cost of Russia's drone warfare strategy. Finally, the conclusion. What does this truly mean? This strike is more than a naval ambush. It's a statement. Ukraine can reach across sea, across distances. into what was once considered safe logistics space. It is both a blow to Russia's drone supply and a psychological shock. Every shipping route, every port, every logistics hub becomes vulnerable, yet we must temper expectations. Russia will adapt. They will reinforce coastal defenses, increase naval patrols, use decoy ships, perhaps change delivery routes or modes, air, underground, more covert means. They may respond with their own counterstrikes. But the strategic inertia has shifted. Ukraine doesn't simply defend its borders, it projects force. This event likely marks a turning point in how wars with drone logistics are fought. Future wars will see navies hedging against drone interdiction, logistics routes will be scrutinized as frontlines, and supply chains will become weaponized. For StrikePointMedia, this is more than news, it's a lesson in how modern warfare evolves. If you found this analysis useful, drop a like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thanks for watching.